either we act now to stop, and people start to think seriously that they have to stop, or we will engage in an unknown territory.
Your Excellency, once again, we are so grateful, we are deeply honored and privileged to have you here in Ohrid in Macedonia as we're celebrating the 15th School for Young Leaders of President Ivanov. And we all know about your busy schedule. You just finished with the hectic events during the General Assembly in New York. You're preparing for the 10th Global Forum of Alliance of Civilizations. So to have you in the meantime here in Ohrid is such a privilege. But also, we are privileged because since 2023, last September, United Nations Alliance of Civilization is a partner of our International Center Alliance of Civilization because we were inspired by your mission, by your vision, and we wanted to implement the mission and the vision of United Nations Alliance of Civilization on a regional level here at the Balkans. Because I believe the Balkans is the right place from which we can learn the experience. I would like to say coexistence, but I really like your approach about positive terminology, so I will use how to live together. So once again, let's hear one more applause for Mr. Moratinos for being here today with us. Your Excellency, you're known as a man of peace, you're known as a man of integrity, and you're known as a man of good deeds. And I have to share this with the audience, especially with the young leaders. I was witnessing during the forums and the conferences that you attended, which I had the privilege to be part of. I saw many leaders, heads of states, how they're approaching you. They're seeking advice, they're seeking solutions, they're seeking answers for this current situation in the world. So with having all this in mind, I have also some questions. So, Mr. Moratinos, people are afraid. People are becoming more skeptical, they're becoming more cynical as we're facing these turbulent times, as we're facing uncertainty, as we're facing a world full of uncertain alternatives. And the impression is that there is not only clash of civilizations, but there are clashes within each of the civilizations separately. And those clashes are manifesting differently, politically, economically, epistemologically. So the impression is, unfortunately, that Huntington was right, that we are having a clash of civilization, and people are afraid because they think that Huntington will prevail, that the clash is inevitable. And this is one of the main reasons why we have fear all over the world. And we have the impression like we are living in a vacuum. You know, I will refer here to Gramsci or to Zygmunt Bauman, who said, when the old world is dying, a new world struggles to be born in time of morbid symptoms, and we can see all those morbid symptoms around us. And the impression is that this clash is inevitable. Also, on the other hand, the liberal democracy has not really achieved this perpetual peace. We cannot say that democracy is spreading as we thought. I would like just to share some data because, you know, the scholars are a bit concerned that we are entering in the third reverse wave. After the third wave of democratization, as Huntington said, we also previously had two reverse waves, and one of them led to the Second World War. And now the scholars are concerned that we are probably entering the third reverse wave, or some scholars are saying that we are going through a process of democratic recession. And according to the relevant indexes, especially of the Oxfam Institute, the Economist Intelligence Unit, Freedom House, we have some worrying data that in the past 6 years, the countries that are moving toward authoritarian regimes are twice as the ones that are moving towards democracy, which is really, really terrifying. So basically, according to the democracy index of the Economist Intelligence Unit, their index, 7.8 of the world population lives in so-called full democracies. Or we have full democracies only 24 countries, which is interesting that since 2017, United States is not being considered as a full democracy anymore. 37.6% of the population, or 50 countries, live in so-called flawed democracy, 50.2% in hybrid regimes, or we have the hybrid regimes in 50 countries, and 1/3 of the world, 39.4%, or precisely 59 countries in authoritarian regimes. And at the same time, the world is going in this transition towards multipolarity. So my question is, having all of this in mind, how we can make the alliance to prevail, not the clash. And what is the role of alliance of civilization in today's world? Because according to us, according to all people here, we believe that this is the most positive and realistic narrative within the UN system that is offering hope. So my question is in that direction.
Well, thank you very much, my dear friend, Ivan Ivanov. Let me start by expressing my gratitude, my thanks, my privilege to be with all of you. I know President Ivanov, I met you, I've been following your work, and for me it's a great honor to be here with all the young leaders, the young people that are looking for the present and the future, and to contribute to this common agenda that have to inspire us to do, inverted commas, the right decision, the right engagement for the future of humanity. We are living in certain anniversary. Yesterday we have the National Day in Macedonia. Today is the Spanish National Day, Ambassador of Spain. You know, the Spanish people, they say we are quite lazy, but we are working also on national days, you know. And so we are celebrating 15 years of the young legacy, of young leadership. And we are, in certain sense, celebrating 20 years of the launching of the so-called Alliance of Civilization. 20 years ago, September 24 of 2004, I was with my, that time, Prime Minister, President of the government, as we say in Spain, attending the first speech of the new government of Spain that have won the elections in 2004, addressing the whole international community, General Assembly, big podium, and President Zapatero launched his idea of having, in order to counteract this theory, and I will come back, of Samuel Huntington, of the clash of civilization, why we don't have an alliance of civilization? Why this idea came for? It was something that came up to the mind of the president of the Spanish government, of his minister, myself, Miguel Moratinos. It came after the brutal and absolutely unacceptable 9/11 attack in the Twin Towers in New York. It came after Spain suffered the most terrific and horrific Islamic jihadist attack in Spain. It came what happened in Morocco, in Bali. And so when we just came as a new government in Spain in April 2004, the president of the government talked to me and said, well, Minister, do you have in the foreign ministry a department that take care of international cooperation, how to really address the terrorist agenda, terrorist challenge, threats? And I have to confess to him, there is not. But not only in Spain, in the foreign ministry. There was not in the foreign service, in the foreign office. There was not in the Quai d'Orsay. There was not in the Farnesina. There was not in Beijing. Only the United States have started after 9/11 to organize diplomatically, we'll say, how to really address this new challenge of terror. And it's true that 9/11 is not only the big shock for all the international community, how a group of terrorists came, organized, planned, execute this salvaggery of demolishing the two towers, the Twin Towers of New York. It was a turning point. We changed the agenda that the UN was trying to impose of the you know, the Millennium Goals agenda, and then we come to the security agenda because we have to respond to the terrorist attack. And so the president of the Spanish government, myself, I said, yes, we will create a department in my ministry. And we have a very good diplomat, ambassador, Spanish diplomat is good. We are not so well known, but we are not bad, you know. We are not bad. So my people work very hard and came with an ideas, with two main objectives. That then, of course, President Zapatero knew how to label it and how to structure it and present to the international community. First, it was that the response to any threat, attack, challenge have to be global, have to be collective, have to be an alliance. So we have to engage not only the West, sending troops or sending, military intervention in Afghanistan to dismantle Taliban regime that succeeds, but then 20 years after, they are coming back. Take note of that. Take note of that. So collectively, we have to respond. That was the main idea of the alliance. And then secondly, how will it be efficient? How we will really get these terror barbarians attack to be diminished, to be eradicated, to be controlled, to be marginalized. Well, of course, you have to use security or military means, inverted commas, but that is enough to really deconstruct the hate, the attitude, their agenda, and we came to the conclusion that we have to contribute to this challenge, going to the root causes, why they hate us. It was the main question the Americans put themselves, why they hate us so much to organize such terrible terror attack on the 9/11. Why this hate come from? Culturally, from religious side, from, poverty, injustice, political reasons. So if we don't address the real root causes, we will not solve, we will not eliminate the barbarian attitude of some group. What is going on now, by the way, we have to discuss. So that was the reason we elaborate this idea of alliance. And that was to act with the so-called clash of civilization. Many people talk about the clash of civilization. Many people talk about Samuel Huntington. But few people have read his conference, his paper. I read it, of course, you can imagine. But I read even when I was a law diplomat, when I was Deputy Director for Africa and Middle East Affairs. So he came to Madrid, I remember, I was young diplomat, and I challenged him to say, Mr. Professor, I disagree with you. I was a young guy. And then I elaborate my response. Huntington has right, and you can't say he's right now. People say, of course, Huntington once said that. But you have to go a little deeper. Why Samuel Huntington, Professor Emeritus of the two important American universities, very sophisticated, erudite, clever, interesting personality, came to his famous first conference in the American Washington Institute. By the way, 2 years ago, it was the 3rd anniversary. And I sent a letter, being High Representative, to go to present my thesis of the alliance. But it's too conservative, so they reject. They reject. They didn't want to hear me to come to argue with Samuel Huntington. Well, he's not there. Unfortunately, he died. But to say that Samuel Huntington was a product of the conservative environment at that time of the United States. It was 1992 when he produced his conference, and then he wrote a few months later in the Foreign Affairs Review. Why? Being so erudite, so well-formed. Where we were at 1992. 92, we were after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Aaron Carter, and Francis Fukuyama saying the end of history. Where we were the United States being the only unique actor in the world, politically, financially, militarily, even culturally. Jeans, McDonald's, hamburgers, all the new culture. But the cleverness, the smartness of Professor Huntington say, well, but there is an area where the hegemony of our West, United States, our conservative, we are not controlling. That's culture and religious. We have the hegemony politically, we have the hegemony militarily, we have the hegemony financially, we have the hegemony economically, but what the people believe, or what the people feel, or what the people have as a tradition, we are not controlling that. So what is the missing action? Culture. The next war, as said Samuel Huntington, will not be for political reason, for territorial reason, it will be from religion and culture, because that's the area you cannot control. So in order to control, you have to have a clash. In order to impose yourself from the others. And that's what is wrong. Because if you read later on Samuel Huntington, even to the last, he came to more or less a kind of supporting alliance of civilization. Paradoxically, when he was, even the last years of his contribution, he started to see that, well, there are culture, there are civilization, you have to maintain a kind of dialogue, a kind of cooperation, because we will not. And he entered in very many contradictions of this, what is the West, what are the Orthodox, what are, the Gulf War was how Muslim countries were part of the coalition of willing in Iraq. So why the Muslim and Arab countries contribute? So a lot of contradiction in his thesis. To come to the end at last, it was not published, it was not disseminated, saying that, well, at the end, you have to live together. So where we are now, my dear Ivan, the lines of civilization of the United Nations, we have continued to work on this collective preventive action to deconstruct all violent extremism. That means that we are the soft diplomatic tool in order to help all the counterterrorism strategy of the United Nations, the whole UN counterterrorism strategy led by the Office of the UN Counterterrorism, that is presided by my colleague Vladimir Voronkov, and we participate in the root causes. So using preventive diplomacy, addressing, like you, young leaders, education, migration, media, and the role of women in order how to really engage at the local community level, the way to really eliminate the tendency of certain part of society to enter in this kind of sectarism and extremism. At the same time, we are trying to promote a better understanding and respect among different actors in society, and of course, actors. But the new challenge and the main objective now of the Alliance of Civilization in this divided, fragmented world that you have presented, we have to really try to acknowledge that we are in a multipolar world. Nobody now contests that. We are not having a single hegemon. It's finished, my dear. They try now to replace with the G2, China, United States. Sometimes they say, well, European Union is in a very not good state, but G3 or G7. Now look to the young leadership here. I don't know how many come from different parts of the world. I'm in New York. I know how you go on the corridors of the UN headquarters. You see a new world. We are one humanity, my dear friends, because the challenges of today are global. So we need a mechanism, instrument that can guarantee that at the end, you have a platform where everybody can discuss, can engage, can really work together in order to really create, maintain the survival of the whole one humanity. So that is the real challenge today, how we create a space with different culture, different religions, different civilization. And for us, the West, I'm very proud to be the West. I'm very proud to be European. I'm very proud in certain stand, but I recognize what Western Europeans have done during the history. It doesn't mean that I'm not defending European and Western interests. On the contrary, I have to understand where we are today in the new world. And we have to understand that there are other actors that have their own history, that have their own culture, that have their own civilization. And my civilization is not the only one. This idea that, civilization started, then go, then decline, and then finally the West came, and we create the best civilization forever. No. We can learn from others. Of course, we can teach others. We can share our positive experience with others. We have created this so-called 1948, Universal Declaration of Human Rights that should be the real, framework for our common work for the future. But within these 30 articles, by the way, they were drafted by, yesterday, they mentioned Eleanor Roosevelt, a lady. It's good that ladies write, diplomatic text. The 30 articles of the Universal Declaration, you have to really maintain. They are fantastic. But that means that I cannot deny that the Chinese have a civilization. I cannot deny that Africans have a long history. I cannot deny that Latin America, Central America have, and each of them have contributed. And now we have to see how. There are many cultures, many civilizations, but one humanity. There is no one civilization, one humanity. So that is the challenge that we have today.
That was truly remarkable, and really it's so important to address the root causes, as you mentioned. So, Your Excellency, this September the pact was signed in New York, the Pact for the Future. Some of the parties are skeptical about the implementation of the pact, as they're skeptical about the achievement on 2030 agenda, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. But there's one narrative there which is related towards the reforms of the multilateralism and the reforms of United Nations. And I was witnessing, I remember this, and this was during the Baku Forum that was organized by our friends from Nizami Ganjavi, the prestigious Baku Forum. And I remember at the closing ceremony you said something, I believe I remember correctly, when you're discussing about the possibility about the reforms, and that this is a hard process, a long process, sometimes a painful process, especially when we're speaking about the reforms within the Security Council. And you said something that is really important. We don't have time to waste. In the meantime, let's move more power towards the General Assembly. Let's bring more power towards the General Assembly. Because we don't have luxury to replace the United Nations, as some might say. But we can fix if there's a willingness. So, if there's a willingness, I believe that can be achieved, because I don't believe that right now the leaders in the world have that consciousness to achieve the consensus as it was achieved after the Second World War, as you mentioned, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I do believe that today's leaders will sit on the same table and achieve that consensus to bring another Declaration of Human Rights, or even to bring another Charter of United Nations. So how do you see this whole process? Because it's really a necessity in order to people to regain the trust in the multilateralism, especially the United Nations.
Well, I think I will be pretty sure that all this gathering is in favor of reinforcing, defending multilateralism. Multilateralism is a strange word. I remember when I was foreign minister, in the Council of Ministers of my country, it became fashionable, no? Everyone was talking about multilateralism, but it's in Spanish, multilateralismo. So my colleague minister, they was, not finding the right word, no? Multilateralism. Okay. So we all defend multilateralism, but then we don't practice it. So that is the challenge, because I think yesterday was the fantastic intervention of all my colleagues that took the floor yesterday, defended, my dear colleague from Hungary say, well, multilateralism is one of how you are going to replace it. There's no way. The point, as you said, that we are in 2024. We are not in 1945. The world has changed. Actors, not only member state governments, but stakeholders, private sector, civil society, youth, different cities, local, municipalities, agenda have changed, methodology have changed. So you have to really adapt, the international governance of today's world to the new time. That is part of decision makers and politicians, diplomats, etc. That was where I think, encouraged by Secretary General Antonio Guterres, that he really was determined to move forward to this reform process. As I remember, you remember me in this meeting in Baku, in Nizami Ganjavi, fantastic foundation, I was a representative here. We discussed that, how to fix, how to reform. Well, in politics, you have to weigh. You make revolutions, or you make reform. As we are getting more moderate with age, we are all tend to say moderate. Now let's go to reform. We don't like revolutions, no? Okay, that's good. Because if you don't reform, revolution will come. And that's what, in some quarters or headquarters, the people don't understand that if they don't make the reform, revolution will come. So Secretary General is a very pragmatic, very cultivated, very experienced man, so he insisted, and he got this so-called Pact of the Future. I think we have to say it has been a very successful outcome. Even, to be frank with you, I would have liked to have all member states together in order to adapt and to accept the text. I was not part of the final negotiation. People take a lot of time, drafting, that is part of the diplomatic work. But at the end, there was something interesting, because Russian Federation, for their interest, considered that they couldn't accept part of the text, and they tried to play a kind of political game there. It didn't work. But what did work is that since the Ukraine war started, for the first time, the so-called Global South make an arrangement and a consensus with the so-called West. So the Africans, Latin Americans, that part of them were very critical to the West due to the whole situation, international arena, and that were against, certain Western attitude. In this moment, in this occasion, they say, no, what is in the text, what is in this new Pact of the Future is taking some of our concerns seriously. So whatever Russia have as interest, let's go ahead. So it was a change of alliances, very interesting for the next step in the near future. So that was good. On substance, the real winner are the youth. You are young leaders, so you are the winner. You have a pact of the young people, the new generation pact, take into account your concern, aspiration to modify the way the young people have to be already from now in the process of decision-making process. So I think that if you ask me what is the concrete achievement of the Pact of the Future, is what the young people have achieved. Even, of course, as you are young, I will do the same. You will revolt, you say it's not enough. Okay, it's not enough, you have to continue to fight, But already the young people have been taken into a real priority. On the institutional framework that are the core of the reform of UN, that is Security Council, there has been some progress. There is some recommendation to have, the African representative, some general recommendation, but of course, the real fight will come when the P5 have to decide to reform. And my thesis, after many years in diplomacy, as you mentioned, Ivan, and I said before, is that, okay, let's give Security Council, the P5, the responsibility to reform and to accept the reform, to expand, but not only to expand geographically, you have to reform the use of veto. I mean, if you are going to reproduce the same Security Council, but instead of 15 countries with P5, with P5, and you have a P10. So can you imagine that not only 5 can use the veto, but 10? Yeah. It's not going to work. You're expanding the crisis. Now, Security Council is not useful. Imagine with India, say, well, no, or South Africa, no, veto, 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 veto. No, you have to change all the procedure that was established in 1945. You have to adapt to what is a vital interest, how you really, and then, that's the reason I propose to reinforce the General Assembly, because what I think, and President Ivanov was telling me last night that democracy is one of the elements you mentioned in the first question, and I didn't address. The point of democratization of institutions in all kind of level comes also to the UN. Is UN democratic? I ask you. If I were in 1945, I would say yes, finally, each member state have a vote. Bravo. But in reality, if you go to the Security Council, what kind of democratization? The majority of the people decide? No. So, democratization process of UN is needed. So how you can get to that? Reinforcing the role and competencies of the General Assembly. And tactically, as a politician, I will say that will give them the club of 5, the cream of the cream, no? The superstars, certain feeling, okay, you don't do anything, you vet everything. Okay, forget it. Let's go to a General Assembly. And well, for the moment now, you have no power. No, we have no power, but every time we have 180 countries voting for something. And what you are doing? You are doing anything. We are doing the work. So they will say, what? No, we don't care about you. Don't meet. Don't implement. Don't make issues. No, I don't care about you. I care about the whole international community taking action, reflection on the situation on the ground. And then they will wake up. No, but we are the power. Okay, you are the power. You have to implement it. Can you imagine on the Middle East, and I have my friend Yossi Bailey, in the US have promoted a few months ago a Security Council resolution proposed by the United States. It's not implemented. It was not proposed by, by France or by Russia or, no, the United States with an abstention and certain support of Russia, of all members of the Security Council, it's not implemented. So why you are there? So we have to maintain, of course, the reform. We have to increase the reform, but we have to be sure that either they will reform or will be a revolution. Others are already working for a new international governance that will be an alternative to the beautiful Rockefeller headquarters in New York, when I work every day. Okay, can you imagine? We will be the next, we have a League of Nations in Geneva. We move to New York. We will remain in New York, or we will go other place. What this young diplomat or leader will go? To New York or to another place? If we want to maintain in New York, for the benefit of US, the benefit of the West, the benefit of Europe, we have to reform now. If we don't reform now, others, we will propose different solutions. So that is my way.
And they will use the vacuum. Yes, and as you mentioned, even if they want to get rid of the veto power, they will have to make the decision with the right of veto. So it's a vicious circle how to basically achieve that. Your Excellency, you're one of the most experienced diplomats in the world. And I truly mean this. And although it's not only Russia, Ukraine, Israel, and Palestine, we have, as you mentioned previously, more than 500 conflicts that might escalate as a huge conflicts and wars. And you have the experience from the Middle East. You're an ambassador, as I mentioned earlier, you're a special envoy there. So I have a really simple question regarding the Middle East, and because the whole world is anticipating about the outcome of that war. Because usually, you know, if you ask scientists, there are 4 possible scenarios: victory of party A, victory of party B, a frozen conflict, or a long peace negotiation that might end up with peace, or again with a frozen conflict. So my question is really simple: where and when both parties went wrong there, and why we cannot achieve peace?
Well, you have to ask the parties, no? But that is too easy. You know, there has been always this saying that my Israeli friend used to mention many times, you know, that he was a former foreign minister of Israel. I even say the Palestinian never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. It's true, no, Yossi? Okay. When I was here, U.S. Special Envoy, every time I heard this slogan, Palestinian never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Okay. And then I changed that, and I said, we all miss an opportunity. Sometimes the Palestinians, sometimes the Israelis, sometimes the Europeans, sometimes the international community. We all miss an opportunity because we didn't take it seriously. And yesterday, Yossi was, as always, brilliant and very, very clear. I think we all made mistake. And the mistake was that we didn't take it serious after, you know, the Oslo. I mean, I was in Madrid Peace Conference. The term of reference was very clear: land for peace, you know. Well, it didn't work. So they work and they succeed in Oslo. But it was an interim agreement, as they say, Yossi yesterday. And so interim, I think, apart what you say, Yossi, yesterday, about Oslo, I think, I know it was difficult, impossible at that time, but the reality was that we witnessed a asymmetric recognition. Yasser Arafat, I know this is not very popular in Israel, in certain Western headquarters, but the leader who recognized Israel as a state. But the Israelis, what they recognize as PLO, as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people, but not the state of Palestine. So you recognize a state, and you recognize a movement, a political movement. So there was an asymmetry. I can understand at that time it was too difficult to put the two sides at the same level. So you say, what we make wrong? First, as a general attitude, that we didn't take it seriously. I mean, the US administration got tired, sick and tired to try. Impossible mission, they will never get a peace between the parties. So they disengage gradually. They have other priorities, Asia, Pacific, China, okay, maintain a support to Israel, and then the rest, forget about them. The Europeans was more or less the same, well, even less. And people thought that the question, Palestine question, was solved. You remember that the saying at that time was, well, Palestinian issue, now we go time to time to cut the grass in Gaza, then we come back, we put some order, and it's finished. It's public order. You take public order, no problem. Abraham Accords, for me, is very big strategic mistake. Not for normalization. I'm in favor of normalization between Israel, and I always work, even in the time of Barcelona process, to normalize Israel with Arab world, but have to be in the context of peace strategy. And that was not taken into consideration. Remember that 1 week before the 7th of October, the National Security Advisor of the United States said, never, ever in history the Middle East was so calm, so peaceful. 1 week before. What means that the situation was very serious. And so they thought that everything was done. And that, well, they are going to normalize Saudi Arabia with Israel. And so the Iranians and others that have their own agenda say, well, that is the moment. So they launched this barbarian, unacceptable, attack that we all condemn, I still condemn, and I ask for the immediate release of hostages, unacceptable. But the question is how we are going to really, put things in order. And that is, at this stage, very, very difficult to pronounce. There are some ideas. Joseph Bailing has his idea of confederation, is very interesting. Others, but at this stage, the decision makers, they are having different strategy. So I think the international community have to take it seriously because the risk, and I said recently in one of my speeches in Spain 2-3 days ago, I'm very concerned for my first time as a diplomat, a politician, that I have always rejected the idea of the Third World War. Now I'm very concerned because we have a consequential level. We start with the local, of course, Israeli Palestinians, Gaza, okay. Then you move West Bank, okay. Suffering the Palestinians, suffering with Israel. The future Israel, I come back about the idea of two states, the confederation. But then you move to Lebanon, okay. Then you Iran, okay. And after Iran, what? After Iran, what? People would say clash of civilization. Barbarians, civilized. You have to choose. We will choose. We will not choose barbarian, we'll choose civilized. Unless we stop this crazy tendency. If we are not able to stop this nightmare, well, we are in the Balkans. You know what happened in Sarajevo? A nationalist Serb killed Archduke. Well, people were dancing in Vienna, dancing in Paris, dancing. Say, what war then? Well, some alliances. Alliance here, there. So what will be the alliance? If Iran gets really hurt and he responds and they start to increment, if we don't stop this nightmare, what will be the alliance? How the so-called BRICS will react? With the barbarians? Not the barbarians, but for them. So I'm sending this very dramatic message because either we act now to stop and people start to think seriously that they have to stop, or we will engage in an unknown territory. So the time is extremely serious. We have to be committed to really try to avoid that, of course. I'm the first, because as you say, I try to defend this concept, this word, this philosophy, this attitude that's peace. But in order to have peace, you have to really make sure that the people understand the risk and challenge that we are confronting. Nobody is stopping this crazy situation. And, well, in 1956, in the Suez War, Britain and France were the leading actors, and they started the war. But the US and the Soviet Union stopped it. And that was the eclipse of Europeans in the Middle East. By the way, the wars at that time only lasted, the Suez War lasted 9 days. They came the 6-day wars, 6 days, 9 days, 6 days. Yom Kippur, that we are here now, was 20 days. Well, we are now in Gaza more than 1 year. Because nobody, not Europeans, but the new actor after Suez was the United States. He was the one who could stop the wars. Why he doesn't stop the war? Because I know that administration, Biden administration, wants to stop the war. But it's unable to stop the war. So we are starting a new chapter. Don't make me wrong. We need United States, indispensable actor. But since my experience in the Middle East during my years of even special envoy, with all my respect with the Israeli friends, that we try, not because I was representing Europeans and I have to defend the European involvement, they try to convince me always that no, wait for Godot, United States is coming. Next election, we will solve. They never solve. Godot will not come. Will come only all together. And what I'm calling for international coalition of the willing of China, India, whoever, the one who can say, what is the risk now is so high that Mr. Prime Minister of Israel, you have to stop and work for full security for Israel, prosper Israel, guarantee Israel, because the two-state solution, my friends, the European leaders that don't want to recognize the Palestinian state, they say, no, very complicated, no. What for? And I told them, no, don't think about the Palestinians. I know that you don't care about the Palestinians. Okay, don't care about the Palestinians. Care about Israel. Your friend. I'm a friend of Israel. That's the reason I'm caring for the two-state solution, because I'm caring of my dear friend from Israel. I was a Spanish ambassador to Israel. I have a lot of friends in Israel. I love Israel, and I care about Israel. And for that reason, I say two-state solution, confederation. But people say, no, what is state? Two-state. Forget about Palestinian. Vote for two-state in order to really give a chance, a security and future for Israel. But no, people are thinking of that. We give the state to whom? To barbarians, okay. Barbarians, because you didn't want to deal with Palestinians that have the right to live like you. There are some barbarians, okay. You don't, most of you don't know Spanish language. But there is a saying when I was special envoy, I have a very negative experience with Hamas, because we were very close to make an agreement with my friend Simon Perez and others, and there was some terrorist attack, made by Hamas. Blow it up, no way to reach an agreement. And I invited myself with my team. In Spanish, we say Hamas, Hamas. Never Hamas. Hamas is never. Hamas, Hamas. So I'm not in favor of Hamas. I'm not in favor of Hezbollah. I'm not in the, but going to my first answer about the alliance of civilization, I want to say that if you want to defeat Hamas or you want to defeat Hezbollah, you will not defeat them only by military means. What will it produce? You will produce 100,000 more Hamas. Maybe they will not call Hamas, because how many Islamic terrorist licenses there have been? Started with the Muslim Brotherhood, then we come to Al-Qaeda, then we come ISIS, Daesh, Boko Haram, new names, new group, new terrorists. How we are going to defeat them? We have to marginalize them. You have to deconstruct them. You have to really get, to a situation. So that's the way you will succeed. So please, this time is too risky to miss the new opportunity for peace. So we should not miss the opportunity for peace today. Because if we miss this opportunity, what is going to be the situation? My dear friend, is going to be extremely dangerous for all of us.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I think we all agree with this. And I believe that there will be a consciousness among leaders to achieve that consensus in order not to reach, as you mentioned previously, another great war. So we're here at the forum, a school for young leaders. So I'd like to address that question, especially to address to the young leaders, because yes, you're a promoter of harmony, you yourself, but the Alliance of Civilization as well. But you're involved in many youth programs, starting with Intercultural Innovation Hub, Fellowship Program, Youth Solidarity Fund, Young Peace Builders, your summer schools, your media and information literacy clearinghouse, promoting overall women as peacemakers, New Generation Against Hate, Youth Waging Peace, and etc. So I would like you to inspire our young leaders. I would like you to share, if you don't mind, what you shared with me yesterday about how to create the positive attitude with the positive terminology in order to have a positive mindset. Do you mind to share that with us?
Well, I used to say that the young people, the youth, it's not the future. You are the present. Because you are really influencing, Of course, you will be the future generation to rule the world, but already you are the present. We cannot, take decisions without feeling and sensing what you are trying to do, what are your concerns, what are your legitimate right to really preserve your future. So for that reason, the work we are doing in the United Nations Alliance of Civilization is practically our main stakeholder, our main interlocutor are the young people. Because politicians, well, we are like me and others, we say, well, okay, it's good. I mean, you have, because they are the ones who take decisions. But for my work, for my mission, we are trying to create a society, international society, that have this sense of ethics, values, principles, in order that you can defend your dreams and your aspirations when you will have, the time to really take the full responsibility of your future. So, even if I've been very gloomy about the Middle East, it's in purpose, because I'm an optimistic man. So you have not to be pessimistic. Don't believe the people. Politicians say your generation is not going to have the same, situation of my generation, my past. It's not true. The future belongs to you. You have all the capacity, you are better formed, you have better resources. It's true, it's a complex society, more complex than in our time. But you can overcome the challenges if you want, and you have a good basis in principle and values. So you have, of course, to participate, to engage, as you are having this opportunity with this forum, this school for young leaders. You are equipped, much better equipped than we were in our generation. But you have to have a political will, the sense, not political, ideological, whatever you decided will be good. But you have to have this sense of transforming and making the reality better. And for that, I think you have to really have a clear agenda. The agenda is very close for me. The best one is to have peace. And this evening in my remarks, I will elaborate about peace a little more. So I don't want to tell you already what I'm going to say to become. I don't want to repeat myself. But peace has to be, for me, the most important. Of course, you have to engage on the Sustainable Development Goals to save the planet, climate change. Very important. But without peace, the other agenda will not be able to implement. So you have to fix well the priorities. And the third main challenge will be, this new technological world, this virtual world. But you have a chance, because we are in a transitional period of humanity. I'm not a virtual man, thank God for me. I belong to the old generation. So I have the mobile, of course, but I have to ask always my daughter or my son, please can you help me with the computer? I'm not, so even I've dedicated, 5 hours of my time or 3 hours to the phone, the rest of my daily life is real. So I go to the bathroom, I eat breakfast, I enjoy singing last night, and I have to go to the virtual because you are, maybe I'm wrong, it's an advantage for the new generation. You are in a half-half 50% of your life is virtual, 50 is real. Okay? So you have more capacity than me to navigate. But please, try that the virtual is not going to replace you. Because virtual is okay. You will be very happy. I mean, I only like a blonde lady, so my field will be so. I go to my new, with the intelligent artificial, all the blondes. But maybe one day I discover the beauty of Afro-American, but if you are only in your world, the virtual, in a sofa, now we want a pizza, okay, let's have a pizza. There we have, but you don't have the capacity to say you go. There is no, don't lose the magic of life, of real life. Use the computer, advance in technology, go ahead, artificial intelligence, yes. But it's more important, human intelligence that have created artificial intelligence. How much we invest in human intelligence? How much we are investing in artificial intelligence? Huge resources. So please, try to balance, not to be only virtual. And try to enjoy life, because then when you are more happy when you enjoy life. And so you have all the future for you, and you have to be well equipped, but values, principle, respect, accepting diversity, that enrich each other, have the opportunity to really understand the other better, listening to them, using peaceful means. I will come tonight with this way to solve questions. So that is the challenge you have, but be optimistic. We all have, our generation, tremendous challenges in our time. We're different. Spain, we are celebrating today the National Day, but we were under dictatorship, I couldn't go to the university. Go to the university, I go to jail. We fight to have democracy. We succeed. Now we have democracy, thank God. But we have different challenges. Each generation have their own challenges, so you have to be ready for that. But be optimistic. I really appreciate the work of our dear Swedish, I think it's Swedish, yes, Greta, the climate change. She did a lot of work, but I didn't like on her that she was always angry. Angry. No, you have to be smiling, revolting, yes, protesting, yes, asking better life, yes, but with a smile, optimistic. Don't be angry. Enjoy life. Thank you.
Your Excellency, that was truly remarkable. And if you allow me, I'll just add one thing before we skip to the Q&A session. You said to the young leaders, and including myself, that you're the present. And I'll have to quote my father here. He always says to me, we cannot change the past, we can change the present, because our present will be the past of the future generations. So once the future generations face towards their past, to see that somebody tried to fix the things. Yes. Okay, so dear participants, dear young leaders, I believe we have 10 minutes for some questions I believe that you want to ask, I suppose. So maybe we can start, maybe we can collect 2 or 3 questions and then to wrap up the session.
Hi. Thank you for your speech. My question is, what specific shortcoming and misguided policy of the UN do you believe have contributed to the rise of extremism and racism rather than reducing them? It seems that the number of terrorist groups has only increased over the time. And in my idea, placing blame is the easiest thing for moderate politicians to do.
Do we collect questions?
I was hearing you. Can you summarize that in one question, what you just said? A concrete one?
Okay, what specific shortcomings and misguided policies of the UN do you believe have contributed to the rise of extremism and racism rather than reducing them?
I think we have one more here. Two more.
Test. Okay. Thank you both. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Ivan. My name is Daniel. I'm coming from the first generation of the School for Young Leaders, so I'm not that young anymore, but definitely trying to be a leader. I have been working for 7 years on virtual exchange between young people from USA and the MENA region on enhancing dialogue. And our main job is to care for everybody in the room, no matter where they're coming from, their opinions and attitudes. And when I've heard you saying, care for this, but don't have to care for that, my question is there a narrative, is there even out of imagination, an option in international relations in this situation to say something that's going to show care for everybody included?
Thank you very much. And we have one more here, and I think we can. Yes.
Your Excellency, thank you for the wonderful and inspiring discussion. My name is Christina. I'm a lawyer that has specialized in international law and international relations, so I'm dealing with both human rights and also international relations. I have two short questions. The first question is related to the negative effects of the ongoing war conflicts. I'll start just with a short explanation. When the war conflict in Ukraine occurred, a lot of people said here, we are not directly affected. But when the economic crisis started to shape our daily lives, we realized very quickly that we are all affected by that war conflict. So while we are working on the peace solutions, what are the tools that can be used in order to reduce those negative effects that are affecting us in our daily life, although the war conflict is not here, it's somewhere there, but we are still very, very much affected. And my second question, I will refer to the Macedonian situation right now. As you know, we have bilateral problems with our neighbors, especially Bulgaria and Greece. I want to hear your thoughts, a brief overview, where can we find the solution using soft diplomatic tools in order to resolve this situation and status quo. Thank you.
Okay, there's one more? Okay, thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you for your speech. I have questions regarding the Future Pact that was recently signed and passed in the UN. Why does the Future Pact omit explicit references to the right to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, especially considering the urgency of climate change and that we have surpassed the 1.5 Celsius? And what steps will be taken to ensure accountability for both governments and corporations who have negative environmental impacts? And last question, do you think the disconnect between the vision and current events and the disconnect between the signatories' pledges and their capacity to deliver will further undermine the UN's credibility and young people's belief? Thank you.
You said US or UN credibility? UN credibility, okay.
Well, I'm sorry because I'm a bit getting all done. Here, I'm getting deaf. No, my wife has threatened me that I have to put, so you know, an apparat. Okay, so the first question about racism and discrimination, if I understood. Well, that is part of my portfolio. I think in today's world, in 21st century, discrimination, whatever comes from, either due to race or religion, gender, ethnicity, cannot have any right. I mean, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights defines very clear where we are. But unfortunately, we are still witnessing the tremendous, attacks due to discrimination in this kind of form. So that's the reason we are very much engaged in fighting against anti-Semitism. We are very much against Islamophobia, Christianophobia, any kind of phobia. And I think that should be not only the responsibility of course, the governments and decision makers, but religious leaders have to be engaged. They have to really participate in how to really eliminate this kind of behavior. The whole society approach, as we say, the UN, have to be also part of that. It have to be part of the main concern, because if we don't accept each other, it's difficult to guarantee a society that can have a social cohesion and a stronger pattern for addressing the many economic, social, and other challenges of today. So racism, discrimination have to be out of the agenda of any new society. And I encourage all of you as young leaders and young people to really fight and to create common agenda. Because, when you address others, it doesn't mean that you are going to accept totally, but you will identify areas that first you agree and others that you disagree. But then the second step will be how we work together to find a compromise to really live together. So I think this is absolutely fine. Then the second question is about how we live together. As you say, that is the mandate of the UN and OSCE, United Nations Alliance for Civilization. Well, we are in a very complex society. And then, when we listen to the discourse of these political parties or political defender of a uniform world or uniform society, I really don't understand them. We are more or less 8 billion persons in the planet. 8 billion persons. We have our fingerprint. Each of us, all of you, each of you is different. Not a single human being is the same. So why we don't recognize that we are different? But in terms of society, I know I belong to the tribe, this tribe. I don't belong to this tribe. Okay. But we are diverse. Diversity is not something, it's not a threat, it's an enrichment. You get something from the other you are not expecting to get. So if we acknowledge that we are different, each of us, why we are not acknowledging that a diverse world? But no, some countries, some communities, some political parties say, no, let's go to be identity. there is an amalgam between a lot of confusion. We don't have time to elaborate about identity, culture, and civilization. 3 concepts. We are using them here and there. Well, to be identity, it doesn't mean that myself construct because there is other. I know I'm myself because I have in front of you. I don't look only to me, so I will be only myself. I will not even find myself. I found myself because I look to you and I say I'm different. So, please, don't be so narrow-minded that say, no, we have to be all the same. Now, there are universal values, but we have not to be set as uniform. No, I'm very happy to listen a Bosnian song, and then a Croatian song, and then a Serbian song, and then a Spanish song, and then a Scottish song. That's diversity. What happened last night? Enjoying different songs. We were enjoying, enriching ourselves. But no, political discourse. You have to be one side, no more. Don't talk to the other. So that is the role. And the main, mission of the Alliance of Civilization, to try to bring bridges of understanding and respect among everybody in the world. The third question was...
positive examples and tools that we can use in our case, in Macedonia.
In Macedonia. Well, in Macedonia you have so many positive examples that one of these young leader experience, and that you had been through, during your history, well, living together. I mean, Ivan and President Ivanov was remember me that Mother Teresa was born, and then they have a Catholic church, they have a synagogue, they have Orthodox church, and that has created to her, the sense of multiple, religion, faith, and belief. So Macedonia, well, you have this fantastic remember of all Macedonia that you put all together, And then the flavor is fantastic, no? Macedonian fruit, we say in Spanish. Fantastic dish. What we are creating, a diverse, plural society. And I think you are doing that with your determination, your engagement. You decided to have an independent state, and that has been done peacefully, and then now you are going, and hopefully to enter in the European Union. And you have to really knock at the door with determination and get to that. Because we need you in the new Europe. We need new people, new incentive, people that are eager to be part of European dream. And the old European class that is getting tired, confused, they need people coming new and energetic us, in order to really have our horizon for the new world. So Macedonia have a strong role to play now in the future. And there is...
the environmental issues and the
yes, that is one of my favorites, Of course, we have to save the planet. Okay? I'm the first. But imagine that we are in Manhattan 10 years ago, 10 years ahead. And we have the East River blue or green, or we are in the Danube also blue, or we have the, well, Ohrid Lake is very good, no? We have a good, but others are, we succeed to have a green cities, all we are green. You breathe a poor air, fantastic air, is no environmental, negative. But then you are walking with a kippah or with a cross, with a keffiyeh, and the people around you, they say, well, you stab you on the back. So you save the planet, but you don't save the humanity. So how you are going to guarantee that you save the planet if you don't save humanity? How are you going to really have a implementation of climate change action plan in Ukraine if you don't stop the war? Tell me, how you really elaborate a green plan in Lebanon, or in Palestine, in Gaza, with tanks, with bombs, with weapons? How you are going to do so? So let's work simultaneously. Let's work to save the planet, but save the humanity at the same time. I was not in favor of the Pact of the Future I discussed. I failed, I have to acknowledge, because if you see the chapters, you have the first chapter is sustainable development. Look. And then second chapter, peace and security. I will put peace security first, and then sustainable development. It doesn't mean that you have not to work on both, but believe me, if you want to have action that will guarantee to save the planet, first you have to save humanity. Because, the lobbies for war are very strong. But the lobbies for peace, there are not. So how you are going to really engage countries to reduce the CO2? Okay, how you are going to penalize, the oil producer, etc. How you are going to really, either you have a peaceful environment and you engage in implementing the 17 goals of sustainable development, or it's very, very difficult. Because the budget, you know how much budget you need for implementing Agenda 2030? Have you calculated that? How much million you need for eradicating hunger? I was candidate for FAO myself. I studied. I need 3 billion per year to start to reduce hunger in the world. Okay, what do you get these 3 billion? Then you say, we have to improve education at the second and third university level. How many trillions you need for education? Add it. About health, how many millions, trillions, after even COVID? Now, after COVID, the ministries and government reducing health assistance, You have to see the budget of the new government in France now, the health. You have to make some economy. It's forgotten. But security is first. Have you read the budget in the new French government? They increase the security forces. They increase the military expenditure. But civil service, down. Health, down. Culture, down. So you added all this budget of the SDG, it's impossible. But not for war. No. Increase. Have you looked to the expenditure of military budget on military armament and weapons? We have to increase because we have to protect, we are on war. We have to increase 2% of GDP for NATO. So this money that goes for military spending doesn't go to saving the planet. So if you want to save the planet, you have to save humanity. You have to stop wars and conflict. If not, you will not achieve in 2030 the 2030 agenda. That is my conviction, but maybe I'm wrong. That is my full conviction. So, yes, let's save the planet, but save humanity.
Your Excellency, it's an enormous privilege to share the stage with you, to learn from you every time. You serve as a global mentor. Many cultures, one humanity, and as International Central Alliance of Civilizations will do everything to support your mission and to support your vision. So once again, thank you so much for being here, for accepting our invitation, and for staying for the celebration of the 50th anniversary of School for Young Leaders. Thank you so much.